Okay, hi, it's Paul Green with another one of our regular Spotlight on broadcasts. And today I'm joined by Jacky Sherman. Hi, Jacky.
Hi.
So do you want to tell us, so we're going to explore in a little bit more detail your business journey, ask you a few questions and get a few top tips out of you later on in the session. But first of all, do you just want to introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you do?
Yes. Hi, I'm Jacky Sherman, the consultant's consultant. What does that mean? It means I mentor and coach independent consultants and small partnerships to build a better business than they could on their own. We combine our experiences, skills, knowledge, and contacts to plot a path that leads to the business that they really want, and make sure that they do the actions to make it a reality. I think that bit's really important. So that's me.
Okay, excellent. So tell me, how did you get to where you are today then? What was your journey?
My journey, I spent a lot of years in the health service, first as a nurse and then into management, reaching the heady heights of chief executive of an NHS trust. And then I left to set up my own leadership coaching company, and discovered that I knew very little about how to run a business or how to network to acquire clients. So I had to go on a learning journey of my own, which resulted in me getting involved with an organization called Ascentive, who taught me referral marketing and how to get people to leverage the full value of their network to help them build their business. And then for the last 8 years, I've been teaching and passing that knowledge on to other people. I now concentrate just purely on my favorite type of client, which are solo consultants who've left employment like I did and set up their own business as a specialist and need to learn how to turn that into a business that earns them a living or achieves whatever it is they want to achieve from that endeavor. So that's how I got to where I am now. So,
Okay.
20-year journey.
Yeah, I think, I can align behind that. I think when I became independent, you don't know what you don't know, unfortunately, do you, when you
Absolutely.
dive into this world? But hey, so it was a little bit like the whatever that shaving advert was, so and so impressed I bought the company. You actually went on an incentive course and was that impressed, and that's what had you represent them, wasn't it, for a while?
Yes, I think because it absolutely matched my values. Working, people who are working in small businesses on their own, it's really lonely, and it's hard you cannot be everything. You cannot be an expert at everything. So building around you a network that supports you and helps you and introduces you to the right clients. There's a whole wealth of things, but it's that sense of being with like-minded people and being part of community while still running your own business, which appeals to me and appeals, I think, to most small business owners.
So what was your first ventures into networking like, Jacky?
Horrendous. Having left the health service with no commercial background or network, I set out and went to this thing called networking, which was a concept that was brand new to me, and went along to a big chamber event where there was hundreds of people all on tables, and completely lost my bottle. That's the only way to put it. I suddenly thought, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be with these people. And it took me about 20 minutes to go and join in while I got my nerve back. No, I did. And I did go and join in, and nobody ate me, so it worked. But I also realised that I needed to learn that this was a new skill that I had to learn. So set out to go and learn it, really.
Yeah, I think it's very true. Yeah, I mean, my first experience was going to a BNI meeting many years ago down when I lived in Maidenhead. Got there really early, and I was actually earlier than anybody else because I guess I was keen not to be late. And then you have the fear that you're in the wrong place when there's no other cars in the car park. You think, is this the right place? But it was. People started to rock up, and as you know, BNI is, I guess, at the top end of networking, very structured, very process driven. Lots of responsibilities, and so that was quite a shock for me because I didn't know what networking was, and I thought, blimey, if it's this, this isn't for me. So I think it's important to say to anybody listening that there's a wide range of different styles of networking that's out there, and you really need to find, what you're comfortable with, and what's going to work for you, given the people in the room, I guess.
Yes, and I discovered that, and I liked groups where I really got to know people well. I'm not so keen on things where I dip in and out, and you're never meeting the same person more than once. I find them harder. I like groups that help me develop the relationships that are crucial, because it's not just about going out meeting hundreds of people. It's going out and meeting like-minded people you can actually work with.
Yeah,
And that takes time. And networking helps. The networking groups help you achieve that, are the ones that suit me best.
yeah. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that people make when they're networking in general?
I think mostly they don't prepare, but hence why I ran into problems. And the other thing they do is thinking that their clients are going to be in the room, so that they've got to go around and sell to everybody in the room. And I think that's the biggest mistake people make. And a lot of people struggle with the whole concept of going along just to develop a relationship in the first place, and not think about that person as a potential client. What you really want is to meet lots of people who know lots of your people who you would want as clients, because they can introduce you. Your network is much bigger than the people in the room. Your network is everybody they know. So, and you access them by your relationship. And I think a lot of people struggle with that concept. They think they're doing it, but actually what they're doing is standing up and pitching to the room.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that's the biggest mistake people make. And not preparing and not having a goal and an objective for their networking is the other one, I think. Why are you there? What do you want to achieve? It's not just rocking up and saying I had a good time. It's seeing some results from it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And also, it's not just a commitment of money, it's a commitment of your time, isn't it? I know we're mostly virtual now, but you've got your traveling time there to and from wherever the venue is, and the time while you're there, etc., etc. So you really do need to make use of that time, and have an idea about what you want to get from a meeting, whether that's meeting someone new or reconnecting with someone you met last time, or whatever it might be. I think that is very important. You see a lot of people just winging it.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, over the last 18 months, networking has pretty much been online. What do you think are the pros and cons of that from your point of view?
From my point of view, it saved me a fortune. But but I think the biggest saving has been in time, as like you alluded to, the travelling time to and from events. So I think it has that value. Also, it's possible to meet people from further afield, because they're not having to travel. You're not trying to travel to a venue. So my sphere of influence, the people I've met come from a wider geographical area. But again, that's got its negative side as well. Is depends on what your business model is, where your clients are based, whether you want people who are in your locality, or you want to meet people further afield. But I think that's one of the real benefits. Yeah, I mean, there's the benefits. I think the downside, for me, I think it's nicer to meet people face to face. It's harder to get to know people online.
Mm.
And it's harder to run a networking event that really facilitates people getting to know each other as well. If you're not careful in online, a few noisy people take over a group, and other people don't. You get people who never say a word.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's the downside, I think. But
Yeah,
it has some advantages. You
yeah,
can probably do more.
Yeah, you've said before that you missed the sort of like mix and mingle stuff before the formal meeting and post meeting and stuff like that, which you can't really emulate, because if you, well, most, I know there's other platforms, but Zoom, I guess, is the most popular. It's a pretty flat space, isn't it, where you're just on a screen like Celebrity Squares, for those of you that remember Celebrity Squares.
I think it's harder to get into the personal conversations as well, because they happen over coffee. And when you're mingling, where people talk, had more spontaneous conversations.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it online, you have to build that into the agenda for the event, that it helps people to do that. So,
yeah, I think one advantage, because it has been a great time to network, because, it's low to no cost, as we've mentioned. But also, it takes away that anxiety that some people get when they go into physical networking for the first time, which you touched on last time, where you're just walking into a room full of strangers, effectively, which can be a bit daunting for a lot of people, can't it?
Yes, but equally, some people find it more daunting to talk on screen.
Yeah.
So they tend to be quite passive in the meetings. So, but walking into a room full of strangers, I think, is something everybody finds hard.
Yeah.
And certainly does put some people off. I think a good networking group will always make people feel welcome and make sure that they don't feel uncomfortable. So they're the better networks. They're the ones to go back to.
Now, another string to your bow is the Green Business Network, isn't it? So, do you want to say a little bit about that?
Oh, I hadn't planned to, but I can. Yes, I'm chair of the local Green Business Network. We have a vision that every business locally will have a green strategy, so that we're all doing our part to reduce the impact that we have on the negative impact we have on the environment. So we offer a whole range of services. I joined to learn and ended up getting invited to be a trustee, and I'm now the chairman, purely to help build. What I bring to that is my skills in helping people to build a network and build the community. So that's what we're doing. And we run a networking group specifically for businesses that provide green solutions and green alternatives, because those people, the more they sell, the more we can help them get in front of their right clients, the more people who are going to be doing things which are good for the planet, and that helps us all.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So you're a busy girl, and you've been doing this for quite a while. What's your why? What sort of like drives you and gets you out of bed in the morning?
What drives me, from a work point of view, what drives me is that sense of community, of not being alone, of doing it together. I mean, my background as a child, my father was in the colonial service in Africa, so I never lived anywhere longer than 2 years, and often moved every 6 months. So that meant we were constantly having to make new relationships. And that got to be a problem when we came to live in England, and I was spectacularly unsuccessful at breaking into established friendship groups at school. I was that weird woman from Africa, the girl from Africa, and that was quite difficult until I joined the Red Cross, and I found it really easy to make friends when I was with people with a shared sense of purpose and ideals. And I've carried that on in my whole career. I was in the RAF, I was in the NHS, running a hospital trust. They were all communities of people working together for a shared ideal. And what I like about what I do now is I'm still doing that. I'm helping other people to do that, to build their community around them and get that support. And I get it myself from my networking groups and my inner circle the inner circle of my network. I think a lovely example was when we went into lockdown. The first thing I did was set up what we call lunch online, where we get my inner circle and myself get together started off every fortnight, just to support each other and see us through what was at that point the complete unknown, but we were in it together. And that's a lovely example of a community working together.
No, absolutely.
And we still meet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been important for a lot of people, you know, because obviously, as we touched on earlier, running your own business is a lonely place to be anyway. And then when you're cooped up in your house because of lockdown, you know, it doesn't really add to that, does it? So, you know, being able to connect with people and sort of like, and I think that's been important, you know, because as you know, because I've been on some of those calls, you know, some people have needed that as like an emotional release for like the pressure they're under, haven't they? They've found that valuable to actually, I guess, be more honest than they normally would be in a you know, face-to-face situation, because people appreciate, you know, the difficulties that I guess most businesses have gone through.
Yeah.
So
go on.
So you touched on obviously your emotional connection to your business, and that's something that Ascentive trained and actually helped me discover what my emotional connection was to my business. And I found that's quite an important thing to share with people, because that gives a much deeper connection, doesn't it, between people when they see you, when they understand what the driving force is. Do you think that's valuable for people to understand what their underlying driving force is?
Well, it's absolutely key, I think, and when I'm mentoring, coaching people, is getting them to explore when we're exploring their vision for their business, is really getting underneath the why they're in the business that they're in. You know, what's connecting them emotionally to their business is really important. And it then sustains you when things get tough, and helps to keep you on the right road. You know, is it emotionally fulfilling? If it's not, why are you doing it? Most of us are in small businesses because we chose to be there, but we need to make sure that it actually is delivering what we need to, because it's tough. And it's certainly what helps me get up in the morning and makes me do what I have to do. All the bits I don't like doing as well as the bits I do.
Yeah, there's always those bits. There's always those bits, unfortunately. But I that sort of like leads in quite nicely to the next question that I'm going to ask you, because you know everyone's personal journey is what makes them unique. So that does help them stand out, I guess, from competitors. So what would you say on top of that? What would you say makes you different from your competitors? Because obviously there's other coaches and business advisors out there. So what has you stand out from the crowd, would you say?
Well, I think there are loads of coaches and mentors around. I agree with that. In preparing for this, I put down me. I think it is my unique blend of knowledge, skills, and experience and contacts. I've worked in public sector environment, and I've worked in a political environment a bit as well from that, as well as working in small businesses. I've been on that journey myself that I'm helping other people to, but it's combining that with theirs. And I think what people say they get from working for me, which is what's really important, I think, is what the clients get, is that connecting, that making new connections and making new ways of looking at the business. So I always think my unique skill is really the ability to connect people to people who they wouldn't normally think of mixing with, but also bringing together ideas and concepts in new ways that help people take a left field look at what they're trying to achieve. All those aha moments people get. I think that's my key skill. So yeah, I don't know if that answers what you wanted. So.
No. That would be my experience as well. You know, you are a very good networker and connector, and you know, often I've put people in touch with you because I know I might not have the connections that's going to help them, but you more than likely will. So yes, I definitely recognise that. So
and if I don't know the person they want to meet, I usually know someone who does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those wider connections is, you know.
Yeah.
Second, third degree connections. Yeah.
Absolutely. So obviously COVID has been most small businesses' biggest challenge over the last 18 months or so. Outside of that, on your business journey, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you faced?
When I started, I would have said networking because I didn't know how to do it and it scared me. But then it was really technology is my biggest challenge. And I think most people, including you, Paul, know that if that sort of coming to terms with technology, I find particularly difficult. It's not because I'm not intellectually capable of doing it. I can. I think it's because my heart and soul isn't in it. I like meeting people. I like being with people. And I see it as a bit of a barrier between people. So I know other people see it as connecting them. When for me, it adds a layer. What you've got. So that's what I struggle with, and I think we all struggle with technology when it lets us down. And so
that's the biggest frustration. Yeah, that is the biggest frustration.
That's the frustration. But the challenge really is getting my head around not physically being with people. And and that's what I like. It's not the same talking to somebody online as it is being in a room having a cup of coffee together.
No, absolutely. And when you're doing that face to face, you've got to make an effort to dress your bottom half, whereas on most of these calls, you've only got to worry about the top half, haven't you?
You've been peeping.
So you kindly agreed to sort of like share some of your wealth of knowledge with us. So I'm just going to put you in solo mode and hand the screen over to you for you to do just that. So there you go. The floor is yours, Jacky.
Right. Thank you very much. Well, when I was learning biology, and again when I came into business, I learned a very simple maxim. That stasis means death. Now that can sound terribly dramatic, but living organisms and businesses are dynamic entities, and that means they need to be constantly renewing themselves to stay alive or to stay viable, and that means they need to be fed. Now it's easy when running a single-handed consultancy to take your foot off the accelerator when you hit your ceiling. You know, that my diary is full, most with regular clients I can count on. So I can coast along nicely now. And then complacency sets in. And the world changes and you and your business don't. maybe it's so slow that you don't notice at first, or your largest client suddenly sells up and doesn't need you anymore, and your figures start to slide. Well, really, I would say before you get to that stage, is to have a strategy, a constant strategy of growth. Now, there are lots of different business models that you can use to continually grow. So how do you choose the right one? Because I've identified at least 14, from simple outsourcing to a full mergers and acquisition strategy. How do you choose the right one for you? And that's really going to work. So I want to share with you a simple model of 7 sort of questions or areas to look at, and to get the boxes ticked on those for any particular business model you look at, for how you want to grow. So I thought I'd share that with you. And it starts with your vision and your purpose. What do you want to achieve from this business, both for the business and your lifestyle? The stuff we've already talked about, the why you're in the business that you're in. So it's being clear on that. And then there's you. What is your identity? Who do you want to be in this business? And I think this is a really fundamental one for consultants. Do you want to be the entrepreneur who builds a business, scales it up and sells it on? Do you want to just be the MD of a business with other people in it? Or do you want to be the technical expert? Or the teacher? Or something else? So it's being clear on your identity, who you want to be, what role you want to play. And then look at your values. What are the principles that are important to you to hold on to in how you build your business, how you run your business? You know, if family values are really important to you, do you really want to build a big multi-million-pound business that's going to take you away from home all the time? So I think the first stage is look at some business models and look at the one where you tick those boxes. That model's going to tick your boxes against those 3 fundamental questions. And then now check the reality of what it will take. And first of all, check your beliefs. What do you believe about this world and you that will help or hinder you to achieve what you want from your vision through that business model? And then what are your capabilities? What skills, knowledge, and resources will you need, or maybe you already have, to deliver that? For instance, if you're going into looking to really grow a business that you can grow by acquiring another business or joining with another person, have you got the finance for that? But also, have you got the right skills and knowledge to work through that? If not, where would you get it from? Then is your behaviours, what you will actually have to do to make this vision come true. And are you willing to do that? And then last but not least is looking at the environment. And the environment is everything that isn't you. So it can be the practicalities of the physical environment. If you're going to grow your business to be bigger than you, do you need to move out of your spare bedroom office and get premises? Do you need to move? Do you need to be in a different part of the country? Do you need to travel abroad? All sorts of issues might arise. And of course, the environment includes all the other people who are affected. Now, if you're in partnership, that will have an impact, or you've got people working for you. But more importantly, perhaps it's the people outside of work, your family, who might have a say. You might think it's fun, always working away from home, seeing people in different parts of the country, but it might not be so great for your family. So those are some of the things to think about and get some answers to those questions, and match those against different types of business models. If you'd like some help and you'd like to share my 14 different ways of growing a business, then I'd be happy to talk to you further about it. 4 minutes is far too short to talk about 14 different business models. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacky. Some great advice there. So thank you for sort of sharing that knowledge with us, and food for thought. And as you say, yeah, it's not a long time to go through the whole thing, but maybe another time. So one final thing then from you before I let you go. Given your sort of like business experience, and from one sort of small business owner to any others out there that are listening to this, what would you say is your one top tip for any of those business owners?
This won't come as a surprise from our previous conversation. It's spend time defining and developing your vision for your business. This is not a waste of time navel gazing. It's really important, but more importantly, having developed what your vision is, start living it. Act as if you've already achieved it. That has deep psychological impact on you, but also it has some direct advantages. First of all, it helps you with your decision making. Every decision you make in your business, ask, does that get me closer to my vision? And it also picks you up when you falter. You know, this is what I'm trying to achieve, and this is what I'm already achieving, to keep you going. So that would be my tip.
Start with the end in mind, as it were.
Absolutely, and live it.
Yeah, I think that is a good advice, because I think I've found it much easier to sort of say no to a lot of things or make decisions based on what I want to ultimately achieve. And I think sometimes, you know, with visions and missions, I think sometimes small businesses think they're a little bit woolly, and for corporate businesses and what have you. I don't. I think, you know, you should be clear in terms of what you want to achieve and where you want to end up, and that does help you. You know, not going down rabbit holes or chasing golden eggs or whatever the expression is. You know, and you can sort of keep your focus, so you're not straying from the, you know, it's never a straight line, but you're not sort of straying too far from the path. You know, you can easily get back on track. So that's it. Your ordeal is over, Jacky. So you did well with technology today. So thanks again for your time. I'll end the broadcast there.
Right. Thank you very much. And thank you, people who are listening. Thank you.